the day I took back my home. I never thought I'd be standing in my own driveway at 72 years old, watching a locksmith drill through the front door of the house my late husband built with his own 2 hands. But there I was, January wind cutting through my winter coat, while my son Michael stood beside me looking like he'd swallowed a stone. Let me back up and tell you how it all started, because this story deserves to be told from the beginning. It was the day after New Year's. I was sitting in my kitchen, the same kitchen where I'd raised 3 children, watching the snow fall softly outside my window. The bird feeder Robert installed 20 years ago was covered in cardinals, 7 of them, bright red against the white landscape. I was drinking my morning coffee, black with just a touch of honey, the way I've had it for 50 years, when my phone rang. Mom? It was Michael, my middle child, my sensitive boy, who used to bring me dandelions from the yard and called them sunshine flowers. "Hi, sweetheart," I said, already smiling because a mother knows her children's voices like her own heartbeat. "Mom, I have a huge favor to ask." He sounded stressed, his words coming fast. "Our house closing got delayed. Some issue with the inspection and the bank. Jennifer and we need a place to stay for about a month, maybe 6 weeks tops, with the kids. Would that be okay?" I didn't even hesitate. "Of course, honey. This house has plenty of room. When are you coming? Tomorrow? I know it's short notice." "Tomorrow is perfect," I interrupted. "I'll make up the beds and get the guest rooms ready." After we hung up, I spent the entire day preparing. I pulled out the quilts my mother had made, the ones with the wedding ring pattern that took her 2 years to complete. I cleaned the bathroom until it sparkled. I went to the grocery store and bought all of Michael's favorite foods, the turkey bacon he loves, the specific brand of orange juice he's been drinking since high school, and ingredients for my pot roast because I knew it was little Emma's favorite. The store was busy with people buying winter supplies. Old Mr. Henderson from 3 doors down stopped me in the frozen food aisle. "Getting ready for the storm this weekend?" he asked. "Getting ready for my grandbabies," I told him, and my face must have been glowing because he smiled and said I looked 20 years younger. That night I barely slept. I kept thinking about Emma, who was 7 now, and little Jacob, who'd just turned 4. I hadn't seen them since Thanksgiving, and even then it was only for a few hours because Jennifer had insisted they needed to get back for some social engagement. They arrived the next afternoon in Jennifer's white SUV, the one that costs more than I spent on my first house. Emma ran to me immediately, her blonde pigtails bouncing, and threw her arms around my waist. "Grandma, your house smells like cookies." "That's because I made cookies," I said, kissing the top of her head. "Chocolate chip, your favorite." Jacob was shy at first, hiding behind his mother's designer jeans, but when I knelt down, my knees protesting a bit, and showed him the wooden train set I'd saved from when Michael was little, his eyes lit up like Christmas morning. Michael hugged me tight. "Thanks, Mom, you're a lifesaver." Jennifer gave me a brief, perfunctory hug, her perfume overwhelming in the small entryway. "Margaret, we really appreciate this. I've already ordered some organizational systems to help maximize the space efficiency while we're here." I should have heard the warning in those words. The first week was everything I'd hoped for. We fell into a beautiful rhythm. I'd wake up early, make breakfast, pancakes shaped like Mickey Mouse for the kids, scrambled eggs for the adults. We'd bundle up and take walks around the neighborhood, stopping to admire Mrs. Patterson's elaborate ice sculptures in her front yard. She'd been making them every ja. Newary for 30 years, ever since her husband passed. In the evenings, I taught Emma how to knit. We sat together on the couch, my hands guiding hers, while I told her about how my grandmother taught me the same way during the Great Depression, how knitting had been both practical and meditative. Emma made a crooked scarf for her teddy bear, and her pride in it made my heart swell. One snowy afternoon, I taught both kids how to make my famous pot roast, the recipe I learned from my mother during the blizzard of 1965. We'd been snowed in for 3 days, and she'd used it as an opportunity to pass down our family's cooking traditions. "First, you brown the meat," I explained to Emma, letting her help season it. "See how it gets that beautiful color? That's where the flavor lives." "Flavor lives in brown?" Jacob asked, confused but interested. "The best flavors live in the places you least expect," I told him, tousling his hair. Jennifer watched from the doorway, tapping on her phone. "That's a lot of carbs and red meat, Margaret. We're trying to feed the children a more balanced, organic diet." But the kids ate 3 helpings that night, and I caught Michael sneaking a 4th. That's when things started to change. It began small. I came down one morning to find Jennifer reorganizing my spice cabinet. All my spices, collected over decades, some in jars my own mother had used, were lined up in identical clear containers with printed labels. "I'm creating a more efficient system," she said when she saw my face. "Alphabetical order, you'll thank me." I bit my tongue. "It's just spices," I told myself. Then she moved my husband's reading chair, the worn leather one where Robert had read every evening for 35 years, where he'd held each of our newborn babies, where he'd sat during his last days when he was too weak to go upstairs. She said it didn't match the aesthetic and put it in the garage. "Jennifer, that chair has a lot of memories," I said quietly. "I understand, Margaret, but we need to think about the flow of the space, the feng shui. I've been reading about creating harmonious living environments." I went to the garage that night and sat in Robert's chair, in the cold, and cried for the first time since his funeral 3 years ago. Michael started coming home later from work. When he was home, he was quiet, always on his phone or laptop. The light had gone out of my sensitive boy's eyes, and I didn't know how to ask him about it without seeming like I was interfering. Jennifer took over the kitchen completely by the second week. She replaced my cast-iron skillets with non-stick ones, threw out my dish soap for some organic brand that didn't clean as well, and started meal planning for everyone in the house, including me. "I made a quinoa bowl for dinner," she announced one evening. "Very nutritious." "I was planning to make meatloaf," I said. "It's Tuesday. I always make meatloaf on Tuesdays." "Change is good, Margaret. Routines can become ruts." The kids picked at their quinoa. Later, I found Emma in the bathroom, crying because she was hungry. "Grandma, I don't like the healthy food," she whispered. "I miss your cooking." I made her a peanut butter sandwich and sat with her while she ate it, feeling like a criminal in my own kitchen. But the worst came 2 weeks ago. I found my wedding album, the white leather one with gold embossing that Robert gave me on our first anniversary, in a box marked donation in the garage. "Jennifer," I said, my voice shaking as I held it up, "this was in the donation box." She barely looked up from her laptop. "Oh yes, I'm decluttering. You have so much stuff, Margaret. It's not healthy to hold on to the past so tightly. You need to create space for new memories." "This is my memories, 46 years of marriage. I'm just trying to help. You should be thanking me." That night I called my daughter Sarah in Portland. She'd moved there 5 years ago for woe. RK, and we talked every Sunday without fail. "Mom, you sound upset," she said immediately. I told her everything. She was quiet for a long moment. "Mom, why are you letting her do this? She's my daughter-in-law. Michael loves her. The kids need their grandma to stand up for herself," Sarah said firmly. "And honestly, Mom, Michael needs to see his mother stand up for herself too. He's forgotten how strong you are. We all have, maybe." Her words stayed with me. Then came last Thursday, the day everything changed. It was book club day. We meet every Thursday at the community center, a tradition I've kept for 15 years. We were discussing a mystery novel about family secrets, ironically enough. Dorothy, my best friend since Robert and I moved to this neighborhood in 1978, had brought banana bread. We were laughing about the ridiculous plot twist when I noticed the time. "Oh goodness, it's 3 already," I said, gathering my things. "I need to get home to start dinner." "Still making Thursday roast chicken?" Dorothy asked. "If Jennifer hasn't replaced my roasting pan with a meditation cushion," I joked, but there was bitterness in my voice that Dorothy caught. When I got home, I climbed the 3 front steps I'd climbed thousands of times, reached for my key and slipped it into the lock. It didn't turn. I tried again. Nothing. I pulled it out, checked to make sure it was the right key. It was, the one with the little blue cover I'd put on it so I could distinguish it from my car key. I tried a 3rd time, jiggling it, thinking maybe the cold had affected the mechanism. The door opened. Jennifer stood there in yoga pants and a cashmere sweater, looking at me with an expression I couldn't quite read. "Oh, Margaret," she said, and the way she said my first name, not Mom, not even Margaret with warmth, but Margaret like we were acquaintances, sent ice through my veins. "I was going to talk to you about this." "About what? Why doesn't my key work?" Michael and I decided it wasn't safe having so many copies of the keys floating around, for security purposes. "We changed the locks this morning. Since we're the primary residents now and you're off and out, it made sense for us to manage access to the property." I stood there, my book club tote bag still on my shoulder, my mouth open but no words coming out. "Manage access?" I finally said. "This is my house." "And we're grateful you're letting us stay," she said smoothly. This is just about safety and security. I'm sure you understand. Why don't you ring the doorbell when you come home from now on? One of us will let you in." She started to close the door. I put my hand against it. "Jennifer, my name is on the deed of this house. My husband built the addition with his own hands. We planted every tree in that backyard. We raised 3 children here. This is my home." "Technically, yes, but you asked us to stay here, so there are reasonable accommodations that need to be made. I'll make you a copy of the new key soon. Now, I'm in the middle of an important conference call." The door closed. I heard the new lock click into place. I stood on my own porch, locked out of my own home, and something inside me that had been bending finally broke. I walked to Dorothy's house. She took one look at my face and pulled me inside. "What happened?" I told her. Her face went through several shades of red. "That little—" she started, then caught herself. "Margaret, what are you going to do?" "I don't know," I said, and started crying. 50 years of being accommodating, of being the peacemaker, of putting everyone else first, and this is where it got me. Dorothy made chamomile tea and let me cry into her floral couch cushions, the same couch where we'd celebrated when our children graduated, where we'd mourned when Robert died, where we'd laughed at 1,000 silly things over the years. "You know what you need to do," she said gently. "I can't. Michael is a grown man who's forgotten that his mother is a person with rights and feelings. And that girl he married needs to learn that you can't just take over someone's life." I stayed at Dorothy's that night. I barely slept. I kept thinking about Robert, about what he'd say. He'd always been so gentle, so diplomatic, but he'd also been fierce when it came to protecting our family and our home. At dawn, I knew what I had to do. I called my lawyer, Thomas Bradley. He'd handled Robert's estate and had known us for 20 years. "Margaret, it's 6 in the morning. Tom, I need your help, today." I explained the situation. There was a long pause. "Margaret, are you sure about this? It's your son." "I'm sure. My son needs to remember who raised him to be a good man, and his wife needs to learn that kindness isn't weakness." By 9 o'clock, Tom had prepared the documentation. By 11, I was back at my house with him, a police officer for witnesses, and a locksmith. Michael's car was in the driveway. Good. I knocked on my own door. Jennifer answered, her face going pale when she saw the police officer. "What's going on?" "I'm entering my home," I said, my voice steady despite my shaking hands. "This is Officer Reynolds, here to ensure there's no disturbance. This is my lawyer, Mr. Bradley, and this is a locksmith who's going to change the locks back." "You can't do this," Jennifer sputtered. "Michael?" My son appeared, looking confused and tired. "Mom? What's happening?" "What's happening, Michael, is that I'm reclaiming my home. Mr. Bradley has prepared a formal eviction notice. You have until 5 o'clock today to remove your belongings." "Mom, you can't be serious. Where will we go?" My heart cracked, but I stood firm. "You can go to a hotel. You can go to Jennifer's parents. You can figure it out like adults do. What you cannot do is stay here and treat me like an intruder in my own home." "This is insane," Jennifer shrieked. "Over a key? Are you really doing this over a key?" "This isn't about a key," I said, and my voice rose for the first time. "This is about respect. This is about you coming into my home and deciding that your way was the only way. Moving my husband's chair, throwing out my memories, changing my locks, making my grandchildren go hungry because your quinoa bowl is more important than their happiness. This is about you forgetting that I'm not just someone who provides free childcare and housing. I'm a person. This is my home, and you don't get to take it from me." The locksmith went to work. The sound of the drill was loud in the cold morning air. Jennifer was on her phone, crying dramatically. Michael just stood there, looking between his wife and his mother like he was seeing us both clearly for the first time in months. By noon, the locks were changed. By 2 o'clock, I helped Michael carry suitcases to the car. By 3 o'clock, Jennifer's designer throw pillows, her collection of scented candles, her organizational systems, and all their belongings were stacked neatly on my front lawn, covered with a tarp, because even in my anger, I couldn't let snow ruin their things. "Mom," Michael said, his voice breaking, "I'm sorry, I didn't realize. I wasn't paying attention." "I know, honey, but you need to pay attention now. You need to figure out what kind of husband you want to be, what kind of father you want to be, and your wife needs to learn that not everything is hers to control." Emma ran to me, crying, "Grandma, I don't want to go." I knelt down, my old knees protesting, and hugged her tight. "I love you, sweetheart, so much, but sometimes grown-ups need to learn important lessons, and this is one of those times." "Will I see you again?" Of course, I'm your grandma. That never changes. They left. I watched the white SUV disappear down the street, taking my grandbabies with it. Dorothy came over that evening. We sat in my kitchen, and she made tea while I poo. Robert's chair back in its proper place. You did the right thing, she said. Then why does it hurt so much? Because love always hurts when it has to be tough. I sat in Robert's chair that night, in the spot where it belonged, and felt his presence around me. I hope I did right, I whispered to him. The house felt empty, but it felt like mine again. A week passed, then another, no call from Michael, no texts. I sent pictures to Emma's tablet, I'm not completely behind the times, of me baking cookies, hoping she'd see them. Then this morning my phone rang. It was Sarah. Mom, I'm coming home. Sarah, what's wrong? Nothing's wrong, everything's right. I quit my job, I'm moving back. I realized during our call that I've been gone too long and life's too short. I want to be near you. Also, I'm bringing someone I want you to meet. We're getting married in June, and I want to have the wedding in your backyard, where you and Dad got married. I started crying. Happy tears this time. Mom, are you okay? I'm perfect, sweetheart. When are you coming? Next week. Also, Michael called me. He and Jennifer are in counseling. He asked if I thought you'd see them again. Of course I'll see them. They're my family. Good, because Emma asked him every day when she can come back to Grandma's house for pot roast. After we hung up, I walked through my home, really looked at it. The pictures on the walls of my family through the decades, the kitchen where I'd taught my children to cook, the living room where Robert's chair sat in its rightful place, the bedrooms where my babies had grown up. This house held my history, my love, my life, and I'd fought for it. I put on my coat and walked outside. The January air was crisp and clean. The cardinals were at the feeder again. Mrs. Patterson waved from her yard where she was starting a new ice sculpture. Everything okay, Margaret? She called. Everything's perfect, I called back. And for the first time in months, I meant it. Sometimes the people we love need us to be strong more than they need us to be accommodating. Sometimes home isn't just a place, it's a stand you take, a line you draw, a fight you win, not against the people you love, but for them. I went inside and started making pot roast, because it was Tuesday, and on Tuesdays, I make pot roast. And anyone who wants to be part of my life needs to understand that some traditions are worth keeping.